everybody, welcome back to Sunshine Soap and Candle Company. Today we're going to be making a 6-layered soap out of a melt and pour soap base. Now you may have seen my previous melt and pour soap video when I made the Christmas Spirit soap with the 5 layers. Well, this one is going to be a rainbow themed with a heart embed. Several weeks ago, the design for this soap popped into my head. I don't know what inspired it, but I just started thinking and conjuring up an idea to make a heart-themed soap with a rainbow design. So with Valentine's Day coming up, this is the perfect time to go ahead and make that soap. So in this video, I'm going to show you my process, and I'm going to show you everything that I use, and then I will share the exact ratios and recipe on my Patreon page. So I'll take you through all the colors and everything that I'm using as we go along, but the first thing we need to do is cut down 5 pounds of melt and pour soap base. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've probably mentioned this before, but my very favorite melt and pour soap base is the clear, low sweat melt and pour soap base from Nurture Soap. And it works so good. I've never had a problem with sweating. I do live in a pretty dry environment, but this soap has worked the best for embeds and for also bar soap. All right, there is our 5 pounds of melt and pour soap, all cut down into about 1-inch cubes. The next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and melt down the first layer. So I'm weighing out the first layer. All right, we're gonna go ahead and pop this in the microwave on 30-second bursts until it's all the way melted down. It's really important when you're making melt and pour soap not to overcook your soap. If the soap is smoking or bubbling, when you take it out of the microwave, you've already burnt it. So it's really important to just make sure you have it cut down in little squares, and you wanna go ahead and melt it at 15 to 30-second bursts and stir in between each burst to make sure that you're not overheating your soap. I'll bring you right back when it's all melted down. Okay, so the first layer is all the way melted down, and it's time to go ahead and add the fragrance and the color. So for this soap, like I said before, we're doing a rainbow theme, but in my design ideas, I thought I wanted it to look more like a vintage style rainbow. So we're going to be going through the rainbow colors and just kind of a different type of spectrum. I wanted it to look like one of those retro or vintage rainbows. So the first color we're going to be using in place of red is a neon pink from Nurture Soap. And I might want to mute this down a little bit after I get the pink in here. So this is the neon pink dispersed in 91% rubbing alcohol. So I'm just going to add a little bit first and see how I like that. And then I might mute it down with some white. I don't want it to be I want it to be more vibrant. I don't want it to be like a baby pink color. So let's just add a little bit at a time until I see how it's looking. And I don't want it to be translucent. So I'm gonna be adding in some more here. This is just a tiny bit, maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon of color for the first layer. And I actually think I'm going to add the rest. And I think I'm going to go ahead and add just a scant bit of titanium dioxide on the spoon. This is dispersed in water. I just want to mute it down a tiny bit. There we go. There, okay. Perfect. Still wanted that bright color, but not exactly as neon as it was. So that was basically 2 drops of titanium dioxide dispersed in water. All right, now we're gonna go ahead, there's the color we got. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add in the fragrance, and I'm using Nature's Garden Bite Me. This fragrance I thought would be perfect for a rainbow design. It's very juicy, it's got an effervescence to it. To me, it smells just like cherry 7-Up, if you've ever had cherry 7-Up. So it's got that effervescence, very 7-Up-like fragrance to it, but it also has a pop of fruit, like a cherry. So it smells really good, and I thought it would go perfectly with the design. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and mix this in, and then we're gonna be ready to pour that first layer. I am using the 5-pound mold from Brambleberry with a silicone liner. This is a wooden mold with a silicone liner. And I'm gonna go ahead and spritz it down with some rubbing alcohol. That just helps the surface tension break. So it helps the soap to spread all across evenly the bottom of the mold. I'm gonna spray the top of my soap just to pop any of those air bubbles. And we're gonna be ready to pour. One of the great things about using the rubbing alcohol to disperse your colorant in is it gets all the color very evenly distributed into your melt and pour. So there's the first layer. I'm just gonna go ahead and spray the top to pop all the bubbles. And then this is the part of a layered melt and pour soap that takes a while. So we just need to let this set a little while, not completely all the way hard, but we're gonna leave it set until it's got a thick skin over the top, and I'll show you what that looks like before we pour our next layer. Okay, I wanted to bring you in for a close-up and show you what it looks like now that it's had a chance to set for about 10 minutes. So it isn't all the way set up. As you can see when I move it, you can kind of see it jiggles a little bit. However, it has a thick layer of skin. When I push on it just ever so slightly, it does not break right through, but it's still liquidy underneath. So this is the time when you want to start melting down your second layer. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to go ahead and melt this down, and I'll bring you right back when we're ready to add the fragrance and color to the second layer. All right, we're back to go ahead and add the fragrance and the color. As you can see, this is the same container I used the pink in, so you're gonna see a little bit of pink in here, but it's okay because the new color is gonna overtake that completely. So this, we are using a Tangerine Wow from Brambleberry. I've had this color for a long time. It's kind of a bright orange, and in the soap, it's not as bright as it looks in the powder, especially in cold process soap. It almost turns to like a pink. So we're gonna be putting this in a little bit at a time like we did last time to see what we like. And I kind of want this color to look more peachy than orange. So that's part of the reason I used the Tangerine Wow, because it definitely does come out a more peachy orange when you get it mixed into the soap. And I will probably be adding some white into this one as well. And I just had dispersed that again in the rubbing alcohol. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. I think I'm definitely gonna add some white into that. Yeah, that's the color I was going for. Kind of that peachy orange. So this is going to be in place of a traditional orange that you would see in a traditional rainbow design. So this is going to go right on top of my hot pink, and we're just going to go ahead and add in the fragrance. Actually, I think I may want it just a touch bit more orange. So we're gonna go ahead and just do that now. So all I'm gonna do is put in a little bit more orange here into this orange container and a little bit more rubbing alcohol right on top. There we go. Let's see how we like that. Okay, that's better. That's better. Gives it a little bit of a, just more of a dark, opaque color. There, that's what I was looking for. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and add in the fragrance. We're gonna give it a good stir. I'm spritzing the top with some rubbing alcohol just to get rid of the bubbles on the top there. And now we are ready to go ahead and pour this soap on top of our other layer. Now, while this soap was melting down, this also had a chance to set up just a little bit more than it was a few minutes ago when I showed you. So now we're ready to go ahead and pour, but we're still gonna pour very slowly with caution. Yeah, this is perfect. It's almost now like it's like a warm soap. If I was to pull this out of the mold now, I would be able to bend it. So this is kind of the consistency that's very perfect for pouring a layer on top of, because it's not totally cold. It's still a little bit warm. And for some reason, that's the best. It sticks the best to that consistency. If you let it set up all the way, sometimes you can have some problems with separation of the layers. Okay, so I've sprayed that down with my rubbing alcohol, and just to be on the safe side, I am going to use my spoon just to break up some of this soap in case it's a little on the hot side. I don't want it to wreck the layer that we just made with the pink. So we're going to do that first. Okay, and that is our second layer. And we're gonna let that set up. And I'll bring you right back when we're ready to add color and fragrance to our third color. All right, here's the third layer all melted down, and now we're gonna go ahead and add in the next color. So for this color, I'm using, for the what would normally be the yellow in the rainbow, I'm gonna be using some orange Vibrance Mica by Nurture Soap, but I want it to look, again, a little bit more of like of a creamy orange color. So I'm gonna be dispersing it in rubbing alcohol, and depending on what it looks like, we'll be adding some titanium dioxide if need be. This is gonna be just a light orange, almost yellow looking. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and add in just a touch of titanium dioxide. Just a little bit. I'm going to go with 1 drop and see how that looks. Just making this look a little bit more opaque and creamy. There, that's looking really nice. That is the color I was going for, so I'm going to leave it as is, and then we're going to pour that directly over the second layer. Go ahead and get that in the frame. Okay, again, this has a thick skin on it, not quite all the way set up. Perfect for pouring, but we want to make sure we're not breaking through that layer, so I'm going to be very careful to pour over my spoon, just in case. Spraying this layer for even distribution, and it also helps the soap adhere. The layers adhere if you add your rubbing alcohol. Oh, I almost forgot to add my fragrance oil. I need to go ahead and do that first before we pour. There we go. Okay, and this will be the last layer that we pour before we add that embed I told you about earlier on in the video. So I'm excited for that. There we go. So we're gonna need to let this one harden up a bit more than the other ones, than the other layers, to make sure it holds the embed and not sink through. It smells really good. Okay, go ahead and spray that, pop the bubbles, and then we're gonna wait for that to set up, and I'll bring you right back. All right, we're ready to go ahead and add in the embed. So what I've done is I've created a heart rod, and I did that with the Brambleberry silicone heart mold, and this is so easy to use. So these pieces just zipper together. Well, not really, they go together, but it's kind of like a zipper, because when you squish it together, you just kind of run your fingers down and make sure they're all the way, you know, closed. And then that's the bottom. And I just set mine up in like a tall, skinny cup. And then I just poured my white melt and pour right inside there. So I have actually not tried this mold before. I've had it, it's kind of funny, I've had it for like a little over a year, but I keep not using it. So this is finally the time that I'm going to be using it, and I'm super excited. Oh my gosh. So I've melted down some clear melt and pour, and I'm going to use this as kind of the glue to make sure these stay put when I pour my next layer. So I'm going to go ahead and put my pieces down. My heart is going to be on the tilt like this when I put it in the mold. And I'm going to put it off to the side a little bit. So you do have to make 2 rods because this is not long enough. One is not long enough to fit all the way across the 5-pound mold. So you do have to make 2 rods and then trim it down to size, which I've done here. So I'm gonna bring you in a little bit closer. All I'm gonna be doing now is just using some clear melt and pour as kind of a glue. To hold the heart in place. I don't want to use too much though, because I don't want to, I'm just running it right along the bottom. I don't want to compromise the color scheme. I don't want there to be any, like, you know, I don't want it to be like a gap of clear color. So I'm just making a thin layer like that. Okay, I think that will do. I'm gonna go ahead and let that set up while I melt down my fourth layer, and I'll bring you right back when we're ready to pour. Okay, now this is the fourth layer. I'll melt it down, and we're gonna go ahead and add in the color and the fragrance. I am using Synergy Mica by Nurture Soap. This would be in place of your traditional green on the rainbow. So it's more like a teal green. I thought it would look really good against that light orange color. And we're just gonna see how it goes. Okay, I'm gonna add a bit more. It's a really pretty color. Okay, I'm just gonna add the tiniest bit of white. I don't want to mute this color too much, I just want to add some opacity. There we go. Okay, and then I'm gonna add my fragrance. Stir it up. And that's going to be the color of the fourth layer. Let's go ahead and get the rest of that color in there. There we go. Okay. You're ready to go. So I'm just gonna go ahead and spray this whole thing down with rubbing alcohol. And I'm gonna use the heart to break the fall for this next layer, even though I think we're probably doing fine because that last layer is set up pretty much more than the other ones, so that I could sit that heart on top. All right, so we're just gonna slowly pour directly over the heart. Okay, and then I'm gonna spray this down, pop all the bubbles, and I'll bring you right back when we're pouring the fourth layer. We are ready to pour that fifth layer. I just wanted to show you here what I've used. I've used Tropical Teal Mica from Nurture Soap, and again, it was just the tiniest bit mixed into rubbing alcohol with a few drops of titanium dioxide dispersed in water. So we're going to go ahead and pour that directly over the heart again so that it goes evenly across, and spraying that down. And I've added my fragrance, and we're just going to go ahead and pour slowly. I'm probably not going to use all of this blue because I want to make sure I can add in that top layer, which is going to be purple. And that we have enough space for it. Yep, I think I'm going to stop right there. It's not exact. I try to be as exact as I can, but the visual effect, when all said and done, it's going to look like evenly spaced stripes. So that's that. We're going to let that set up. We're going to let that set up, and then I'll bring you back when we're pouring the last layer. Okay, we're ready to go ahead and pour on that sixth and final layer. So for that layer, I'm using Purple Vibrance Mica and a little tiny bit of titanium dioxide. Just going to give it its last stir here. Get it all fully incorporated. Okay. I'm trying to get this as full as possible. Maybe just a little tiny bit more without overspilling. Okay, that's gonna about do it. I've got a tiny bit of purple left. I'm gonna spritz this down, and then I'll bring you back when we're ready to cut this. I cannot wait to show you the cutter. I think I showed you this melt and pour cutter in the last melt and pour video, but it's a cutter made specifically for melt and pour soap. So I absolutely love it, and I'll be showing you that in just a minute when we're ready to cut. Hi everybody, we're back to go ahead and cut this soap, and I just took it out of the mold and cleaned up the edges a little bit, and I'm super pleased with the color. This is exactly what I was going for with that kind of retro rainbow look. So let's go ahead and cut into it and see what it looks like on the inside. I am using a melt and pour soap cutter that I got from a company called Maple Leaf Soap, and I'll go ahead and list the Etsy shop in the description box so that you can check them out. This is the only soap cutter that I know of that cuts melt and pour soap, so it's really changed the game for me as far as cutting melt and pour soap. My soaps look way more professional because I can get them cut evenly, and it's just much nicer than using a knife. Okay, so I have mine set at 1-inch soap slices. Oh, isn't that cute? How adorable is that? Absolutely gorgeous. So cute. Oh, I just love it. So cute. Now they all look the same, so I'll go ahead and just show you a few more here. You could make this soap out of cold process. I just find that making these even layers it's a lot easier with melt and pour soap, and also the colors that I wanted, I feel I got a more accurate depiction using the melt and pour soap base. And plus this soap base has a really nice lather, so I'm very pleased with it. Okay, I'll go ahead and cut one more for you. There you have it, everybody. There's the making of this cute little rainbow heart melt and pour soap. If you liked this video, please remember to give me a like, comment, and share it with your friends. Catch you on the next video.